Let me know when that's good to go.
Believe we're good to go.
Perfect. Do you mind taking us through the opening ceremonies?
I do not. Give me 1 second to make sure I have everything all set. All right. Okay. This is March 25th at 3 p.m. And this is the Cape Cod Regional Government Assembly of Delegates Standing Committee on Public Services. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, this virtual meeting of the Barnstable County Assembly of Delegates Standing Committee on Public Services will be conducted via remote means only in accordance with applicable law. Members of the public can watch the meeting through live real-time broadcast at www.youtube.com/user/Barnstable County. A public participation guide and meeting documents are available in advance at www.capecod.gov. The County of Barnstable does not discriminate in the administration of its programs or activities on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, disability, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or other category protected by state and federal anti-discrimination laws and regulations. Reasonable accommodations for people with disabilities are available upon request. For more information or to file a complaint, please contact Christina Marchak, Barnstable County ADA Non-Discrimination Coordinator at JMARCZAK at capecod.gov. Call 508-375-6646 or visit www.capecod.gov. Members of the public can also attend the meeting remotely through Microsoft Teams, and all of that information is on the website as well at capecod.gov. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Perfect. Thank you, Clerk Fletcher. Looking next at the agenda, we've got a moment of silence to honor our troops who are currently serving our country and those who have fallen in service. If I can have a moment of silence. And next, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And with that, Clerk Fletcher, if you don't mind calling the roll to get the official attendance, and we'll get going.
All right. Let's see if I can get this straight. We've got Delegate Ty for Delegate Fuller.
Here.
Chair Gasson.
Here.
Vice Chair Harder.
Here.
Delegate King.
Here.
Delegate Sampson.
Here.
And as you noted, Delegate Frederickson and Delegate Ty are here as alternates. And, Delegate Ty would be the voting member for Delegate Fuller on basis of seniority. So full 5.
Fantastic.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. With that, we'll go through the budgets. Do we have somebody here from the Registry of Deeds?
Yeah, this is Dave Murphy, the Assistant Register of Deeds. I'll be speaking today. How's everyone doing?
Fantastic. Really, the way I'm going to run the meeting today, and this for all the delegates as well, is focus more on the questions folks have, having reviewed the budgets, and not making anyone present more than the delegates have questions about. But obviously, if there's something before we get into the questions that anyone from staff wants to mention in the lead up before we get into questions, feel free, and I'll give you the opportunity to do that. So, Mr. Murphy, is there anything about the registry's budget that you want to mention, or are we good to dive into questions?
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, our budget's pretty straightforward every year, so you know, I mean, I'm ready for questions if you got some for me. Anyone? Well, that's great to hear.
I will say you always one of the best budgets we get every year because it's clear, concise, and you know, and you're not messing around with new things.
We try to do our statutory mandate and stay kind of, you know.
Can y'all hear me? I think we're either I'm frozen or
You're frozen, but we can hear you.
I can hear you.
See, did he lose a connection? Or
Yeah,
we can hear you, Dan.
There we go. I'm back.
Yeah.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Last thing I heard is Mr. Murphy saying he doesn't have anything to mention before questions. So, any questions from the delegates about the registry of deeds budget? Okay. Seeing, Delegate
Miss
Ty.
Ty.
Delegate Ty, if you have a question, feel free.
You're muted, hon.
You're muted.
Thank you. Good. I started cursing. Sorry. Salary and wages
Yes.
for the 2027 budget is down 2.20. Just curious.
Yeah, that's a great question. We had just entered a contract in the prior year, so some of the money that was reserved for paying contract incentives is not in this year's budget. So that kind of resulted in a decrease in overall budget.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Seeing no more questions, I'll make a motion to recommend this favorably to the full assembly or to the finance committee.
Okay. Second.
All right. Clerk Fletcher, if you don't mind calling a roll.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Keep losing the list. Sorry about that. So that's Delegate Ty for Delegate Fuller,
Yes.
Chair Gasson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Harder,
Yes.
Delegate King,
Yes.
and Delegate Sampson.
Yes.
That's 5 yeses, Mr. Chair.
Fantastic. Thank you. Moving on next to the Center for Public Safety Training. Administrator Dutton, is there something you'd want to mention, or do you want to pass the buck to anyone else here?
Thank you, Chair, for recognizing me. I don't have a whole lot to add here. I think the committee knows, most of the members of the committee know that we provide mostly fire training opportunities, mobile fire training opportunities to all the fire departments on the Cape, which Marty will correct me, but I think it's 18 of them or 19 of them altogether. And so that is very popular. We have scaled back our our classroom instruction because the state has essentially taken over a lot of that responsibility, and the chiefs have responded that they find that useful and helpful, and they don't necessarily need that on our fire training academy side. So mobile training opportunities, one of the biggest things we do. We're also coming to the close of the fire training burn building. I know I'm not supposed to call it a burn building, but it's a burn building in Yarmouth, and we are putting the finishing touches on that over the next several months in preparation for turning that over to Yarmouth, who in turn will operate that for the entire Cape. But Marty's budget is conservative and has gone down somewhat, and but other than that, I'll defer to Marty if he wants to talk about any of the specifics, or if the delegates have any questions.
Michael covered the bases. I'll answer again any
Sure.
questions if there are some.
Was there? Okay, perfect. We'll start with Delegate Ty.
Thank you. Once again, expenditures are down 12.96. And that is in reference to?
I can answer that if you like.
Yep, that'd be great, Marty.
Yeah, the current well, let me back up a little bit. Entering into the current fiscal year, we recognized we had to replace our protective clothing for our staff, the firefighting gear they wear. Excuse me, for two reasons. Number one, it has a 10-year lifespan, and we are approaching that. And the turnout gear contains PFAS, And I'm not gonna go down that road, everybody's understanding the PFAS issue, but it is within the turnout gear. So the current fiscal year, we are budgeted to replace 9. Due to some increases, I only got 8, because obviously the prices went up as during the budget process. The budget request for 27 is for 1 less set of gear, in other words, 8 instead of 9. So there's the 14% reduction, because this each head to toe, each set of gear is about $5,500. So that's where WOW is, to say the least. I've been dealing with WOW for the past 15 years doing administrative work. But it's there for the right reason. It keeps them safe during training. PFAS-free is an issue in several states. Now in Massachusetts, it's illegal for me to buy protective clothing that contains PFAS. You might have saw on the news, Quincy just committed $2.5 million replacing turnout gear to ensure it was PFAS-free for their staff. So that's the negative, I shouldn't say negative, that's the minus 14%, reflects that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Delegate Hardy?
Thanks. Just a quick question. So the 8 last year or this year and the 8 next year, those are just for county employees, right? We're not outfitting the Cape towns.
No, those are for the county staff that are instructors that teach the different programs, because we have several of our mobile props, as Michael described, that involve propane-based fires and so forth. So it's for their own protection, our staff. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from delegates here, or just delegates in attendance? Okay, seeing none, I just had a quick question. Looking at the budget, it looks like it's primarily salary, almost exclusively in terms of the budget. Obviously, in the narrative and in the conversations that we've had so far, it is about providing equipment and providing a burn building, as well as I'm tracking a burn trailer for the towns. Is that equipment that the towns are using that we're providing for them county equipment? And is there, essentially, how does it end up being that there's low maintenance cost on it, or that's not a bigger part of the budget? Is it owned by the towns? Are they paying for it?
Well, the Yarmouth building costs are outside our budget. So the Yarmouth building, as we described, and I'm sure you'll be hearing something in the next few months, have nothing to do with my current budget or my proposed budget. That as far as expenses within my budget is involved all of the mobile training pops and the service. Again, most of them are propane-based fired. So we pay for propane, we pay for equipment. The non-fire props have some wear and tear when we have, lack of a better term, a roof prop. So it gives the opportunity for firefighters to cut a hole in a roof setup we have. And again, they're using heavy duty saws, and some maintenance and care and repairs basically covers those expenses. I want to say 95% of our repairs are done in-house. We do have some of our equipment that has to be sent out calibrated yearly to ensure safety, and that's required under an NFPA standard, which is the National Fire Protection Association, which creates standards for everything fire related from head to toe. So those are those expenses you see pretty much on the expense side of the budget.
Yep, and that's that 40, pretty much everything you described, like the expendable stuff, the propane, so forth, that falls under the 45,000.
Yep.
Okay.
Propane, equipment for repairs, we do our own welding in-house and so forth.
Fantastic. And last question I had is, are the towns paying anything to use the equipment or to participate in the training, or is it pretty much just something we offer to the fire departments?
It's something we've offered for some time now. It predates me. But I will add that on the other end, it saves the cities and towns and the districts from overtime costs and so forth. Before, they used to have to come to the academy, pay the backfill if they let people off duty or overtime, and I also included the volunteer departments that we do nights and weekends and so forth. Like we're going down to Provincetown the middle of next month to do several days of training. So that saves that travel and costs for their staff. So The short answer is yes, we pay for everything. They don't pay anything in cash value, but we do save them a lot of money as well.
No, no doubt, 100%. Sounds like a great program. Delegate King, got your hand up?
Do we do any with fire departments outside of the Cape? Any outside of Barnstable County? Do we offer this service anywhere else?
Short answer is no. Right now, there has been some discussion. The Cape and Islands Association, Fire Chiefs Association, does include the islands. Currently, we don't do really anything with the islands. Occasionally, something advisory wise, they may ask me a question on a piece of equipment and so forth, but there's really no cost to that. I think that's a discussion with Michael for another day relative to the mutual aid offered to the islands has increased quite a bit. Believe it or not, there are running cards of sorts. You don't see it, but in the background, when you see a major fire on the island, it usually involves moving some Cape-based firefighters toward the island, frankly, because of the wear and tear. I mean, there are less, staff available. A lot of the island full-time staff live off island when they're on their off days. So it's not like when I first started in the fire service, everybody lived in town. I think I'm not going to take the quote Michael. I mean, I don't think Michael and I even had that discussion. That predates Michael, that discussion. I'll leave it at that unless Michael's got something to add.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, last question, at least so far for myself. Look at the budget narrative, specifically in the heading notable changes from FY26 to FY27. There's some discussion about the Yarmouth building that you guys have touched on. Specifically, it refers to an earmark for FY26. Trying to wrap my head around what are you referring to with that earmark? Are we receiving a state earmark for the Yarmouth building, or are we talking about something in this budget?
No, that's a great question. So the state earmark, we received an earmark for FY26 of $100,000. We received it in FY25 for $100,000, and I think it goes back a few years. That is given to the county for the benefit of the region, and we have earmarked, now that we've received that, we have earmarked that for the regional burn building to complete that structure and get it turned over so it can be used for training for all the departments. But that does not appear in this budget.
Okay, so are we anticipating that earmark for FY27 or?
It's a year by year basis, and so our state senator has been very helpful in securing that earmark, and we would go back and request that again in FY27. I believe it comes as part of a supplemental budget, but I'd have to double check that. The state supplemental, but
I guess, sorry, I'll clarify my question a little bit. Looking at the budget book now, and what we're talking here, also all the planning and hard work that's gone into the Yarmouth burn building. If that earmark doesn't come through in FY27, are we concerned about a deficiency either for the county or for Yarmouth?
We're not too concerned about it at this point. We're hopeful that we can complete the burn building in this fiscal year with the FY26 earmark and other funds that are coming from alternative sources. But we're hopeful that we can actually complete and turn over that building by the end of this fiscal year.
Okay, super helpful. Thank you. Any other questions from delegates on this part of the budget? Otherwise, I'll make a motion.
Let me make the motions if you don't mind, Mr.
Please
Chair.
feel free.
I move that we favorably recommend the public safety budget to the Finance Committee.
Second.
Clerk Fletcher, if we get a roll call on that.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Delegate Ty for Delegate Fuller.
Yes.
Delegate Chair Gesson.
Yes.
Vice Chair Harder.
Yes.
Delegate King.
Yes.
And Delegate Sampson.
Yes. Okay. Sounds like that was favorable. In that case, we'll move on to facilities. With that, again, I'll turn it over to Administrator Dutton to kick us off.
Thank you, Chair. I will kick off the facilities discussion by pointing out that Don Reynolds and his crew take care of over 200,000 square feet of county property or county leased property. They do that with a very minimal crew, and they have been very adept at adopting technology efficiencies over the years. I've seen it over the last year that I've been here. It's very impressive what Don is able to do with the staff that he has. This budget actually gives me an opportunity just to point out one thing, which is across the board on all budgets, and that is fringe benefits. We budgeted fringe benefits at 12%, and so that is what you see reflected in these budgets. I will point out, however, that unlike many cities and towns, certainly many towns on the Cape, we budget fringes by department. So when you see a sizable increase in fringe, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're over budgeting fringe benefits. It might mean that several people within the department have chosen or have gone from a single plan to a family plan, or they did not take insurance and now they have chosen to take the county's insurance. So I wanted to point that out so that people know. And in some cases, the fringe amount has decreased in some of the departments, and that reflects obviously the inverse. It reflects people stepping down from a high cost plan to a lower cost plan, or getting off of the county insurance and going elsewhere on a spouse's insurance, presumably. So I just wanted to make that clear. But I think if there are any questions, Don is certainly prepared to answer them.
Okay. Just because you mentioned it, I have a quick question to follow up on the fringe. You might have mentioned it, sorry if I missed it. What's the overall county increase year over year that we're looking at for fringe benefits?
On fringe benefits, we're looking at health insurance at 8%. That came in at 8%, which we were very pleased with because we had instructed departments to budget 12%. We're looking at other insurance increases, and health insurance, obviously the biggest one by far. I think we have life insurance increases in the 10% range or more, but that's a relatively small amount of county funding goes into that. And what am I missing? Anyway, that gives you an idea. I'm sure I'm missing some of the smaller fringes, but that gives you an idea.
Okay, thank you. Delegate Harder.
Thank you. So utilities, all the utilities for the complex are in this budget? Gas, electric, or is that per department?
Those are not per department. I defer to Don to explain how we budget those.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Don Reynolds, Director of Facilities. Thanks for having me. Good to be here. And with bated breath, been waiting on this 3 o'clock. Utilities are largely a departmental responsibility at this point. I oversee the large cost centers and the trial court lease spaces.
Okay, so that still seems like a lot of utilities, and it seems like what did you budget the increase for? Because it doesn't seem big enough to me with what's going on right now. I mean, and maybe this goes to Michael. Are we going to keep the difference in health insurance in case utilities go sky high?
That certainly, from my perspective, that would be a wise move. Obviously, when we put this budget together, it was seems like it was many years ago. It was only probably a month ago, but that the current spike in energy prices was not contemplated when we were putting this together. So anytime you put a governmental budget together, you you never know what you're going to get. And if we have some savings in some line items, certainly I would encourage the elected bodies to maintain that as part of the budget, realizing that we may have to cover over potential over expenditures in some of the energy line items. Yes, good point.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the facilities budget from delegates here? Seeing none, Delegate Harder, if you want to do the honors.
Righty. I move that we positively recommend the facilities budget as proposed to the Finance Committee.
Second,
Okay. Clerk Fletcher, if we get a roll call.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Delegate Ty for Delegate Fuller.
yes,
Uh, Chair Gasson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Harder,
Yes.
Delegate King,
Yes.
Delegate Sampson.
Yes.
That's 5, Mr. Chair.
Fantastic. Okay, next we're moving on to the dredge budget. Administrator Dutton, take it away.
Thank you, sir. The dredge budget, I will borrow a line from Delegate Harder. The dredge is near and dear to my heart. My initial interaction with the Barnstable County dredge happened, I think, in 1998. Believe it was 98, very soon after it was created. And we were looking to dredge. I was out on Martha's Vineyard. We were looking to get some dredging done, and the county, Barnstable County, offered a great rate and a great service. In any case, we have a lot of challenges. I think these the delegates on in this committee have heard about some of the challenges that we face and continue to face as some of these restrictions sort of ratchet down on us. Obviously, permitting, dredge permitting is a complex morass of paperwork and permissions. And excuse me, Ken does a very good job of keeping tabs on that and trying to push along those permits where he can. So, sort of an aside, but our biggest impediment at this point seems to be the Army Corps of Engineers. And so we've had some discussions with them, and we're hoping for some improvements there. But in any case, permitting, it's in our interest to make sure that we can shepherd along those permits, because we've operate this as an enterprise fund. And for those that don't know, an enterprise fund is essentially we operate a business, the revenues of which try to match the expenditures. And if we make a little extra money, we stow that away in a separate fund specifically for the dredge purposes. If we don't make our target revenue, then the general fund needs to cover those expenditures, which has happened in the past both ways. We've made chunks of money, and we've also overexpended and had to cover that at year's end. But I will say the dredge services is critical to the Cape. I think everybody knows a lot more about the dredge than we used to. It provides not only navigable waterways as is required, but also provides storm mitigation. We rebuild beaches. We maintain, try to maintain beaches in all the towns, with the exception of Brewster. Brewster does not need the dredge, but in all the other towns, we generally 99% of our dredge spoils gets put back up on the beaches, and certainly folks in the summer enjoy those beaches, and it's a bit of an economic generator for the towns. This budget, this year's budget, obviously will be hampered by not only the delays in permitting and some of the foibles in the permitting process, but also time of year restrictions. Time of year restrictions 10 or 12, 15 years ago used to only be winter flounder. And we had to stop our dredge operation for certain periods of time in order to allow winter flounder to spawn. That has now expanded, and our time of year restrictions have been, we've lost more and more days due to these time of year restrictions, not only for winter flounder, but a host of other species. And our renourishment of the beaches now is hampered many times by the appearance of piping plover. So Ken really does try to juggle all of these things. So we've got shrinking amount of time that we can actually dredge, and we've got indecision about permits. So it becomes quite a challenge, this business that we have. But Ken obviously does his best, and we're looking at a host of different ways to try to make things better. And one of those things is providing real-time data to the folks at permitting agencies, so that we can sort of cut down some of these time of year restrictions into when we actually know that the species is there, and not just sort of say, okay, you can't dredge for a month because winter flounder might be there. With the proper technology, we'll know exactly when the winter flounder is there, and a month of not being able to dredge hopefully will shrink down into 14 days or less. So those are some of the initiatives that we're trying to get done. But this year's budget, I can tell you, includes the creation of a deputy director, which will allow us to do a number of things. It'll allow us to tackle some of those time of year restrictions, allow us to shepherd permits more effectively for the towns, and allow us to advocate on Beacon Hill and Capitol Hill for funding that we need to continue to dredge and provide the services or more services that the towns are going to need as we face some of the climate change realities. So that's my spiel in a little bit of a nutshell. And but either Ken or I happy to answer questions.
I saw Delegate Ty's hand first. Delegate Ty, if you want to take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I want you to know the dredge is in my heart. My question has to do with the infamous study. When is that going to be complete so that we can get these permitting stuff higher?
A great question. So we did, for those that don't know, we commissioned a permit optimization study last year. That study, I believe, is done, and we have forwarded that to the Dredge Advisory Committee, actually a sort of a subcommittee for their recommendation. So the permit study gave us, Ken, I think it was 4 or 5 different options, and we really were focused on one option. Some of which you see built into this budget, but that permit optimization study has been completed, and I'm happy to share that with the committee if you haven't seen that. But to answer your question, it's right there with the subcommittee of the Dredge Advisory Board for their recommendation on how we proceed in total.
Thank you. Delegate Harder.
Thank you. And also you're doing another rate study, right?
We are looking at the rates, and I quite honestly, I think Delegate Harder pointed out, the sudden spike in energy prices. Obviously, we've got an operation that, whether we like it or not, is an energy hog. So we are, we're certainly attentive to some of these spikes and so forth in the cost of doing business. But overall, we have to look at the rates, and what we should do is look at these rates every single year. And those rates should track, and quite frankly, the towns expect those rates to track, the increase in expenses that are driven by inflation. Ken has pointed out very effectively that we provide for the same amount, for $26.50 or $28, we provide the same service for 1,000 yards at an opening of a harbor here, but we provide that same rate for 20,000 or 30,000 yards someplace else. And so it takes a lot more to mobilize to do 1,000 yards than it does to mobilize to do 20,000 yards or 30,000 yards. So there needs to be some flexibility built into the rate that allows us to accommodate those changes in mobilization costs. So if we're charging $26.50 for the 1,000 yards here, and we have to spend 3 or 4 days mobilizing there, and we're spending 3 or 4 days mobilizing to do 20,000 yards, then the rates somehow should reflect that. So we are looking at that. We've asked Anchor QEA, who's our consultant on this, to take a look at that. And obviously, once we get some solid figures, we'll be coming back to the assembly and the commissioners to take a look at revising rates, or even if we're not revising the actual bottom line, we're revising how we charge those rates. So, good question.
And just did you hire the deputy director yet, or do we have to wait until the new budget?
Right. Wait until the new budget.
That's too bad. All right. And just not really towards the budget, but what are the chances, if I gave you all the money, that we would get one of the smaller boats that's been talked about, so we could do the smaller rivers and all those sort of things?
So we have, and again, this is something that I think Ken has talked about, and I'm stealing all his thunder, which I can, because I'm the boss, I guess. But we have looked at a number of different opportunities, both mostly with potential grant funding or earmark funding. One is smaller sort of barge and excavator type dredging, which can address some of the smaller things, the 1,000 yards that I was talking about to open up the mouth of a harbor. Those are probably better suited for that kind of mechanical dredging. We have also looked at the wisdom of purchasing a larger dredge that can allow us to do more cubic yards in a day than we can do now, and be a little more efficient without getting something so big that we can't maneuver it. So we're looking at that as well. There is some new, I say new, but new to us, I guess, technology that's looking at the process of spreading, instead of spreading spoil, throwing all the spoils back up on the beach, taking spoils and putting those on coastal wetlands to raise the level of the coastal wetlands so that they can still provide some protection from a storm mitigation. So we're looking at that as well. So there are a bunch of different technologies that we think could be very effective. A lot of those purchases will depend on our success in earmark funding or grant funding.
Doug, do you have a follow-up there? Okay. Any other questions before I dive into the few that I have? Okay. Administrator Dutton, I'm looking, and this might be interconnected, or these might be two completely separate points. Looking at contractual services, looks like that's really increased significantly since not just last year, but looking at FY25. And then also, how much are we paying for these consultant studies on rates as well as permitting? Maybe that is why that number has increased that much, but that's what I'd like to know.
And this is where I get to turn over the question to Ken.
Yeah, Ken Cirillo, the director of the dredge. I don't know, Michael, on the dredge optimization study, because I don't believe that was charged to our department, but we'd have to check on that. the dredge rate, the wage study we did, that was the one that is paid for this year. Contractual services, we have our hydrographer that we pay. And those are for all of the hydrographic work that is done for all the surveys, which is passed back through to each town. So that's an expense that's redirected back. And also when we have to rent other equipment that we have. So I think I'd have to go back and dig a little bit deeper to see what else there is in there, but nothing is out of the ordinary there. But if we have to, have a Baxter Crane come in to use crane services to lift the booster station off and take it from the barge onto the beach, or the beach onto the beach onto the barge, whatever. Most of that is what is in that category.
So with that, with contractual services, looks like in FY25 it was about 128,000. And then this year, 2 years later, we're looking at 500,000. So about a fourfold increase. Is there an operational difference that we have, that, like, essentially, are we contracting out something we used to do in-house? Is there a specific different approach we're taking in some way? Like, how do we end up with an increase that big? And it looks like it increased more from FY25 to FY26. So it's clearly something that isn't just this year, but that's what I'm curious.
I will have to double check and get back to you on that.
Okay. And then I don't know if I missed an answer on how much the studies are that we're paying for.
I can, yeah, I'll have to get an exact rate for you on that one. They're not that substantial,
Okay.
but
Ballpark.
I'll get exact figures.
Oh, not substantial.
In the tens of thousands.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, the wage study that we just did was $7,500.
Okay. Perfect. I was wondering if that was the jump there that we were looking at. Is it
That's
a
not a jump.
$350,000 study?
That's a gimme.
Okay, appreciate it. Delegate King.
Thank you. Yeah, just to complete the question, the wages went up 28% with one employee increase. What can you explain that?
I guess the best answer there is we don't carry a lot of employees. We have 10.4 staff currently, or positions, I should say, currently, and we'd be adding one. We've also built in some of the numbers from the wage study, as Ken alluded to, that we did. Right now, we are paying well below market, and so we're trying to amend that and fix that deficit, essentially.
Yeah.
So what is the general increase in the department?
You are
Percentage-wise. Do you know?
Percentage-wise, it's a little over 7%.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, it's important to point that out that, when we commissioned this wage survey, the dredge department was left out of the one that the county did back in 2020. So we know that we were unfortunately knowingly underpaying our employees. So this is why we did this, and this is now built into this budget going forward. And I think it's also important to point out that we are creating a deckhand 2 level where we want to be able to have a career path for our deckhands, because at the current structure that we have in place, you kind of max out at step 10, and there's nowhere really to go beyond that aside from a leverman, the person that drives the dredge. So we wanted to be able to have another level to go ahead and promote folks to. That's why we've created this deckhand 2 position, which is very common in the industry, to be able to have that kind of career path, if you will. So that's important that we've created that, because we have to maintain our staffing and not lose somebody, because clearly today they could easily go off and find another job that's paying much more than we're paying our deckhands.
So you feel that you added one employee and you also upgraded the rest of the employees in your department. Would that be a fair statement?
The plan is not in place yet, but the plan is to be creating this deckhand 2 level and promoting 2 current employees to that grade.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then seeing back my time, I'll ask one more question about, just jumps in line items that we're seeing, this one in the other direction. Charges and obligations. Looks like it was budgeted for significantly above previous years last year, and looks like it's coming back to normalcy, but I have no idea what charges and obligations are. So I would love to know what that is.
We'll have to get back to you on that one too. Is Carol with us? No. No.
No worries.
We'll have to
Okay.
get back on that one too for detail.
Yeah.
Nope,
Um,
Ms. Capola is here.
I'll
Good.
second.
Good afternoon.
Carol's here, Dan.
Ah, here we go.
Yes,
Good.
Yes.
Oh, hi. How are you? Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Hey,
Thank you for the great questions that you posed. So I could talk about the rate study a little bit. I mean, I'd be happy to pull the and the permit study and the cost associated with those, but the major study was funded through ARPA. But we'd be happy to pull those costs for you and provide that to you. I just don't have them at my fingertips. FY26 was the first year that we began to budget for a lease payment or for a building. And that lease payment is no longer being budgeted in 27. Those funds have been really shifted, if you will, to repairs lines. So they're different categories. So when you mention from the digital budget book that we have introduced this year, a reduction in charges and obligations, that would have been the category where the lease would have been budgeted in 26.
Okay. And then since we have you here, that makes sense. Do you have any available insight into contractual services and the increase between those two?
That bolstered by $100,000 the repair line.
Okay, sorry. It's
That's right.
Say again.
So yeah, so what has happened is that we're realizing that we are having to bring our dredges into the shipyard on a more routine schedule, and like this current year we had not budgeted for that level of repair, so we decided to increase the line item in there for $100,000 in anticipation of bringing the next dredge back to the shipyard again, because you don't have any real forecast on what's going to be needed to be done till it's hauled, separated, and examined. So that's why this year we ended up, getting hit with a really high extraordinary cost on repairs that needed to be done. And now we're decided to go ahead and see if we can kind of position ourselves to be able to have that in the budget. So it might be $50,000, it might be $150,000. We live in a world where we don't have, control over the work that needs to be done.
And Ms. Coppola, you had something to add?
Yes. In addition to the repairs to equipment, we added some repairs to building. We have,
Okay.
we're anticipating that the dredge will be moving to the public safety building at the former fire training facility. And we know that there's going to be some repair work that needs to be completed in order for that move to happen. So there's just under $49,000 increase in the building repair line as well. And that, in addition to the repairs for equipment, is why you're seeing such a significant increase in one category, which is the contract services category.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate the detailed information.
Sure.
Any questions from delegates that we have? Okay. I'm gonna, since we only have one other budget to discuss, I'm gonna hold off on a motion yet. I think I want to open up to some discussion from delegates, and then we can put it to a motion. Or actually, you're right, Delegate Harder, make the motion first, and we'll discuss it, and then we'll vote.
Right. I move that we positively recommend, as proposed, the dredge budget to the Finance Committee.
Positively second.
Fantastic. Any discussion before I say a few words? Okay, on it, I'm gonna vote in favor of positively recommending it. I think in general, the biggest change I'm seeing here is that Deckhand 2 and the creation of deputy director. I would love to, continue seeing all the work pay off that the dredge is doing, in order to optimize the rates, in order to hopefully work our way out of this permanent quagmire. But if these two changes on the staffing side of things, A, help achieve those goals, and B, help us keep, folks that work and can live on the Cape. I think that's fantastic. Only reason I stole a little bit of time to speak is to explain that, just because of all the changes in the line items that we just talked about and things moving around, the increase in contractual services and that being a significant percentage of the budget, I would ask Mr. Cirillo or the administrator to forward to this committee after the hearing today, when you get an opportunity, a more detailed breakdown of those line items prior to this going to the full assembly. I would just like that for peace of mind as we work through it. Kind of before we lock in these increased line items in perpetuity for future delegates that may be looking at the FY28 and beyond budget. But that aside, I think these positions are warranted, and I'm looking forward to supporting them on the full assembly. Delegate
Thank you.
Harder?
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to make a general statement because we have some new delegates on this, and the dredge is a hill I'm willing to die on, and it is such a valuable, I think one of the most valuable services we offer to the towns, that I never worry about whether or not it's going to balance, whether it's, a true enterprise fund, because I believe whatever help we need to give it is crucial for the towns. And I'm very pleased that Director Cirillo is finally getting help, because he has single-handedly brought this dredge up to speed and fixed so many problems with it, and has done such a wonderful job, that I just want to say thank you to him, and I'm very glad that he's going to get a deputy director. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, seeing no other discussion, Clerk Fletcher, if you wouldn't mind putting it to a roll call vote.
All right, Mr. Chair, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
Delegates high for Delegate Fuller.
Yes,
Chair Gasson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Harder,
Yes.
Delegate King,
Yes.
Delegate Sampson.
Yes.
That's 5, Mr. Chair.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Moving on to the last
Thank you.
budget that we're going to discuss today, and that's Children's Cove. Sorry, did I see a hand go up? Nope. Children's Cove. Administrator Dutton, are you starting us off on this one too?
I sure can start you out on this one. For those that don't know, Children's Cove is sort of one of the hidden gems of Barnstable County. It operates quietly, quite on purpose. The work they do is critical to the Cape and the islands. essentially, Children's Cove is the Cape and Islands Child Advocacy Center, and they cover a wide variety of different services, which I won't dive into too much here. But they do coordinated and multidisciplinary investigations when children are involved, whether it's sexual abuse or physical abuse. They're also victims advocates in child cases. They do forensic interviews. They do medical and trauma care coordination, family advocacy, and so on. This has been, as I say, one of the gems of Barnstable County. There's a lot going on right now. I think when the economic situation gets challenging, and certainly it is for a large majority of the people that live on the Cape, the pressures that people experience ultimately get taken out on children very often. And so excuse me, Children's Cove is there to try to ameliorate those bad situations, and in extreme cases are there to help prosecutors and police investigate and prosecute crimes against children. The budget, Stacy Gallagher, who's director of Children's Cove, has been for a number of years, has done a great job. And again, I won't speak to too much of her budget because she can certainly do that, but I will point out again that fringe line item when you've got very small number of staff, and one person takes or doesn't take health insurance that we are by law obligated to provide, that can make a pretty drastic change in your budget. So other than fringes in this particular budget, things are pretty much the same across the board. But certainly, I'll answer any questions, or certainly defer to Stacy on any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dutton. Is there anything Ms. Gallagher would want to add before we open it to questions?
Sure, I can. Stacy Gallagher, good afternoon, everyone. Stacy Gallagher, Director of Children's Cove. I think like every other department, we've presented a level services budget for all of you, with increases in salary, step adjustments, cost of living increases, rising staff benefits and health insurance costs, as well as general operating cost inflation, particularly around utilities. And we also had no new staffing for FY27. But I am hoping that the report that I provided to the Finance Committee back on February 18th would be hopefully answer most of the questions that you would have. But I'm happy to answer any further questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the committee? Delegate Ty?
Thank you. Director Gallagher, that was an impressive report. I
Thank you.
copied it. I copied it and I read it. So I thank you. Very thorough. Single-spaced. My minor question has to do with two things: expenditures. Supplies and materials are down, but charges and obligations are up. And I don't remember seeing that. So could you hit me to that?
Absolutely. Thank you. So our charges and obligations have to do with mostly with utility increases. Some are around utility increases for the most part. And then the others are professional liability insurance, standard annual increase of about 12%, as well as a new obligation for us that we've added. We have to now do federal background checks on all staff, volunteers, interns, per our accreditation standards. So that was added as a line item as well. And I believe that's it under charges and obligations. Yep.
Okay. Thank
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Oh, Delegate Harder, you're muted.
I will make a motion in one sec. I just wanted to know, out of curiosity, how's the Friends doing with the new building fundraiser? How's that going?
If I could defer to Administrator Dutton for that, that would be great.
Sure. So I think as delegates know, Stacy and Children's Cove have been looking to make improvements to their existing building. We do have the possibility of building a new building on a county-owned site, and also the potential of purchasing an existing building in another location. And so what I've asked Stacy to do is just look at all these different options and figure out what would be the most program effective for her program needs, and also what would be most cost effective in terms of either improving the existing facility or a new facility, new to them facility. So that's underway. Nothing in this budget it accounts for any of that. But in terms of the Friends of group, I think there has been some fundraising there, which will help offset some resolution or some solution once we identify it. But again, you'll be the first to know
Right.
when the
I
time
just-
comes.
Since I didn't see anything in the budget, I was hoping something was moving, but apologies, I didn't have time to check up before this meeting. So anyway, if it's all right with Chair Gessen, I shall make a motion. I move that we favorably approve the Children's Cove budget as presented and send it on to the Finance Committee.
Second.
Okay, Clerk Fletcher, if you wouldn't mind giving us a roll call.
Yes, Delegate Ty for Delegate Fuller,
Yes.
Chair Gessen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Harder,
Yes,
Delegate King,
Yes.
Delegate Sampson.
Abstain.
All right. That is 4-0 to 1, I suppose. Oh, did you freeze?
We can hear you.
Yeah,
Still,
that's
four
right.
yeses.
yes.
Okay.
No, yeah, 4-0-1.
Thank you very much. So that wraps up the agenda. Administrator Dutton just wanted to say, I think this process with the budget's going pretty smooth, and I appreciate this approach. The committee-focused approach, I think it's helping the delegates wrap their heads around exactly what their concerns are, what their questions are, and we're getting them answered. So I appreciate this approach. I think kudos to you and Speaker Warner for working through it. Any other questions, comments, concerns from delegates before I entertain a motion to adjourn?
Just, I'm trying to remember. So the dredge is gonna break down what the new contractual are. Right? You asked for that to be broken down before it goes to the Finance Committee. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else we wanted to send along to the Finance Committee. But Clerk Fletcher, you're probably more on top of that than I am.
Yeah, I'll follow up. Thank you, Delegate Harder, with Clerk Fletcher and Administrator Dutton with questions that we have about specific line items, and I'll share it with the committee. I don't know when the Finance Committee is going to be considering it, but at the very least, before it goes to the full assembly and any of us see it again, I'll make sure that information gets returned if we're
Terrific.
fortunate enough to get it.
Terrific. Thank
okay.
you.
Seeing no other questions, if we could have a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Clerk Fletcher, if we could get one more roll call.
Sure. Delegate Ty for Delegate Fuller,
Yes.
Chair Gessen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Harder,
Yes.
Delegate King,
Yes.
Delegate Sampson,
Yes.
So everyone, I'll see Delegate Sampson, Delegate Harder, and Delegate Ty on a 5 o'clock call for natural resources. Too much
See ya.
time to spare. I could have just put it at 4. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Take